The IFP is holding a memorial service today in Mofolo Park, Soweto, for the party's late founder, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Buthelezi was buried last month in KwaZulu-Natal. SABC News reporter Natasha, Phiri, and video journalist Masabata Ralitabo are covering the story for us. And on that note, let's cross to them both live. In fact, Natasha, good afternoon, and thank you for your time with us here at this hour. Perhaps you could bring us the latest, take us through how the IFP is today, in fact, remembered its founder and the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi.
Okay, you can take the mic from the stage.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa. We're coming to you all the way from Mofolo Park in Soweto. And of course, as you've correctly cited there in your introduction, the IFP leadership in Gauteng had actually held a memorial service for the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who was laid to rest last month. And of course, just concluding, his address to IFP supporters and members and Amabuto that came out in their numbers here today. The IFP President Velenkosi Nhlabisa had, just a lot to say, and also speaking about the message of reconciliation. You would remember that last month, the long-standing friend of the late founder of the IFP, Reverend Musa Zondi, had said that the last dying wish of the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was reconciliation between the ANC and the IFP. And of course, Mr. Nhlabisa had actually touched on this, saying that both parties have the responsibility to own up to the violence and close the chapter or the painful chapter. It also says that the ANC needs to publicly apologize for the propaganda they spread about the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. But just taking this conversation further, we are joined by Mr. Nhlabisa. Mr. Nhlabisa, you had a strong message to send to the ANC, saying that they should too, account for their role in the IFP ANC violence, and saying that the ANC needs to publicly apologize if they want to talk or continue further talks about this reconciliation project.
Thank you very much, my sister, as well as the viewers of the station. Indeed, when we paid tribute to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi today, I could not avoid to touch the subject which was close in his heart. In actual fact, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi wanted this matter to be concluded while he was still alive. Unfortunately, it did not happen. But we wanted to place it on record that the reconciliation agenda has nothing to do with merger. But reconciliation is about healing the wounds of the past. There is a painful truth. In South Africa, we had a moment where violence occurred amongst the people of our country, and the two political organizations, IFP and ANC, were both involved. The leadership of the two organizations should be bold enough and own up that it is not one organization that should take blame. Both organizations, it was a painful history. We must close this history by talking honestly about it. And secondly, if we want to really achieve reconciliation between the IFP and the ANC, we know the propaganda that was spread by the leadership of the ANC, calling Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi a sellout, calling him as a person who betrayed the struggle. But the truth, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was requested by the ANC leaders in exile to go and block apartheid from within, and he achieved the mandate which was given to him. In private, leaders of the ANC do confess that indeed he was requested by their senior leaders in exile, but publicly they said a lot of things which was painful to him up until he closed his eyes. I'm very confident that the leadership of the ANC, as President Ramaphosa spoke about the need of reconciliation, the IFP welcome the challenge thrown to us by the ANC. We are willing to be engaged in the reconciliation subject because we believe we have a responsibility to build a society that has buried the painful past and building a bright future for the generations to come. The truth, lastly, there are many people who were victims, who are surviving victims. At a certain stage, both organizations, we should go to those families and say, we apologize, let us close this chapter and build a new chapter for our country.
Mr. Tlhabisa, has the ANC, since the passing of the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, probably reached out to you, or have you reached out to them? And furthermore, I'd like to know about the status of the multi-party charter coalition of which the IFP is in. I mean, some critics have said that it'll be impossible for the IFP to actually be a part of this multi-party charter while they are trying to embark on this reconciliation project with the ANC.
My sister, for the benefit of our country, well, let me start with the first question. On Monday, when the funeral was on Saturday, I wrote a letter to President of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, with two things to say. One, I thanked him for honoring Prince Buthelezi with Category 1 state funeral. Secondly, I accepted the opening of the discussion on reconciliation between the two political organizations. Up to today, the president of the ANC has not responded to my letter, but we have taken a step to say, let us get engaged. Then on the second question, reconciliation between IFP and ANC has nothing to do with merger. The difficulty with the ANC, they have destroyed our country. Crime, unemployment, load shedding, everything have moved from good to bad and to worse. Now, if you talk of a government, of a coalition between ANC and IFP, it's going to be a very difficult subject to engage. But on the...
Mr. Tlhabisa, I'm so sorry about this. We'll have this conversation afterwards. I need to quickly toss back to my colleagues there in studio. Of course, you've heard it there from the president of the IFP, Mr. Tlhabisa. Of course, we will continue with this conversation later on. With that said, it's back to you in studio.
All right, Natasha, Phiri, thank you for that. Of course, the IFP holding memorial service today, remembering the late founder, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, the founder of the IFP.